Only Vladimir Putin benefited. CNN analyst rebukes Trump's praise of Oval Office chaos. A passionate defense of Donald Trump's actions last Friday, when he criticized Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky as disrespectful and demanded gratitude, was quickly dismantled during CNN's State of the Union on Sunday morning. During the panel discussion, former Trump communications advisor Erin Maguire argued that Elon Musk was effectively exposing fraud and waste while diverting attention from Trump. She then shifted to the controversial Oval Office press event that drew global attention. Maguire suggested that limits were necessary on U.S. support for Ukraine and that Trump's stance positioned him to demand appreciation for aiding Ukraine in its fight against Russia. She claimed this allowed Trump to negotiate while advocating for smaller government. However, CNN commentator Xochitl Hinojosa countered, stating, "There is no deal when it comes to Ukraine." She then added, "The only person who benefited from Friday's outburst was Vladimir Putin. It didn't help Ukraine, it didn't help America, and I know the White House wants to celebrate it, but there's no real victory here." Maguire smirked in response. SNL ruthlessly mocks Trump-Zelensky meeting that went really well. Saturday Night Live didn't hold back in its cold open, featuring a replay of the viral Oval Office meeting between President Donald Trump, VP J.D. Vance, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, as it satirized the world leaders. In its retelling of Friday's White House meeting, which SNL sarcastically described as going really well, Trump, played by James Austin Johnson, introduced himself as the CEO of Gaza Hotel, referencing the real president's suggestion of turning the war-torn region into a Riviera of the Middle East. Turning to Zelensky, played by Mikey Day, he mockingly thanked him for dressing like casual Star Trek. "I love Star Trek because there's no DEI." The real Zelensky had worn a black sweater and black pants during the actual meeting, a fit that seemed to irk Trump. The show then poked fun at Trump's wary approach to his relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The fictional Trump urged Zelensky to tell Putin how much you loved him and you're sorry. Bowen Yang then entered as Vance, demanding, "You haven't said thank you for the past 15 seconds since I've been yelling at you." During the real meeting, the actual VP pressed Zelensky, asking, "Have you said thank you once?" To which Zelensky replied, "A lot of times, even today." Vance pushed further. "No. In this entire meeting." Whenever SNL's Zelensky attempted to speak, the Trump and Vance characters interrupted him, mimicking the actual exchange. At one point, the fake Vance asserted, "You have been talking this entire time. Does the sign outside say Ukraine House?" "No, it says America House." The sketch also recreated the cards moment of the meeting, which actually took place. In real life, Trump told Zelensky, "You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now with us." Zelensky responded, "I'm not playing cards right now. I'm very serious, Mr. President. I am a wartime president." In SNL's version, Trump insisted he had all the cards. "I have skip. I have draw 4. I have reverse. I have to get out of jail free. The Supreme Court gave me that one." Fictional Zelensky then proposed a visit to Ukraine. "I've been to Ukraine on Google Maps. It's a mess," the fake Vance responded. SNL then mocked the way Musk's leadership of Doge has disrupted the federal government. "They're doing mass firings of the government. We love mass firings because we don't need to know what their names are or what they do," the fake Trump declared. In reality, although the Trump administration had laid off hundreds of Federal Aviation Administration employees amid recent aviation incidents, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy confirmed that air traffic controllers were not among them. The stock market declined after President Donald Trump confirmed that tariffs on Canada and Mexico would take effect at midnight. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 1.7%, the S&P 500 fell nearly 2%, and the Nasdaq, which is heavily weighted in technology stocks, was down 2.5% in afternoon trading. Speaking from the White House with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Trump announced that 25% tariffs on the U.S.'s biggest trading partners would begin on Tuesday. This announcement dashed investors' hopes for a last-minute agreement to prevent the full tariffs. King Charles offers support to Zelensky amid diplomatic tensions. King Charles extended a supportive gesture to Volodymyr Zelensky as global leaders work to mend his strained ties with Donald Trump. In a clear show of solidarity, the king invited the Ukrainian president to Sandringham for a private meeting just 48 hours after Trump's dramatic Oval Office confrontation unsettled Western allies and bolstered Vladimir Putin. The king's backing, following Trump's recent praise of him as a beautiful man, coincided with an urgent diplomatic effort to restore Western unity over Ukraine. The meeting in Norfolk had been planned in advance, but took on added significance coming so soon after Zelensky's tense exchange with Trump. Leaders from France, Germany, Canada, Italy, NATO, and the EU convened with Zelensky in London for an emergency summit on Ukraine's future. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron are reportedly working with Zelensky on a proposal to end the fighting, which they aim to present to Trump soon. They are also pushing for a coalition of the willing to deploy a peacekeeping force if a deal is reached. Starmer emphasized that while not all nations may contribute, the UK and its allies must act decisively, with Britain ready to commit military resources. However, he stressed the necessity of US security backing, which Trump has yet to guarantee. Other key developments included the UK pledging $1.6 billion worth of air defense missiles to Ukraine, France and Britain proposing a month-long truce across land, air, and sea, with Macron suggesting greater European reliance on France's nuclear deterrent. Calls for Zelensky to return to the White House and sign a deal granting the U.S. access to Ukraine's rare minerals in exchange for continued American support. During the summit, Starmer described the moment as a historic turning point for European security, urging leaders to take action rather than engage in further discussions. He reaffirmed the UK's commitment to Ukraine, stating, "We are with you for as long as it takes." The British government is now focused on convincing Zelensky to return to the White House to finalize the rare minerals agreement, which Trump views as essential for maintaining U.S. support. Following Trump's heated Oval Office exchange with Zelensky, UK ministers fear a potential withdrawal of American backing for Ukraine. However, Starmer, who has spoken with Trump twice in recent days, remains optimistic that a peace deal is still viable. The Prime Minister is set to attend a European leaders' summit in Brussels on Thursday, seeking further support for the proposed peace plan before potentially accompanying Zelensky and Macron to Washington to present it to Trump. Trump claims he's the only president who didn't give Ukrainian land to Russia. Former U.S. President Donald Trump asserted that he is the only American leader who has not ceded any Ukrainian territory to Russia. He made this statement in a post on Truth Social. The only president who gave none of Ukraine's land to Putin's Russia is President Donald J. Trump. Remember that when weak and ineffective Democrats criticize and when fake news eagerly spreads their claims, Trump wrote. He also hinted at a big night happening tomorrow, where he intends to tell it like it is, but did not provide further details. On February 28th, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visited the United States. During a joint press conference with Trump and Vice President Vance, a disagreement arose between the leaders. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio recently accused Zelensky of allegedly obstructing efforts to reach a peace agreement. Protesters opposing J.D. Vance gather along the streets of Vermont as the vice president takes a ski holiday after a dispute with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Footage recorded by local residents on Saturday, March 1st, shows demonstrators lining Route 100 in Waitsfield, holding anti-Donald Trump signs and cheering. The protests come in response to a rare confrontation at the Oval Office on Friday, February 28th, where the U.S. president and vice president accused Zelensky of being disrespectful. A Democratic senator has accused the White House of aligning with the Kremlin, criticizing the administration for suggesting that Ukraine initiated the war. Senator Chris Murphy condemned Washington for echoing Moscow's narrative and criticized the brief meeting between Donald Trump and Volodymyr Zelensky, which ended in a tense confrontation. It's absolutely disgraceful. The White House is acting as an extension of the Kremlin, Murphy told CNN. He emphasized that facts still matter, stating, "Vladimir Putin is a ruthless dictator. Russia started this war. The entire purpose of yesterday's meeting was to distort history and broker a deal that hands Ukraine over to Putin. Talks between the U.S. and Russia on resolving the conflict have already begun, but Ukraine has been excluded from these initial discussions. In response, Kyiv is looking to Europe for support, with the UK and France leading a coalition to secure peace after 3 years of war.